Gang, are you looking for better sleep and relaxation or relief from pain or anxiety without feeling totally drugged? Well, let me tell you about True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. True Hemp Science promises premium quality, pure ingredients, and true value. They source the highest grade organic hemp from around the world to handcraft the finest full spectrum CBD products in the Austin area and beyond. They offer a complete line of full-spectrum CBD products, including oils, tinctures, skincare lotions, sports rubs, gummies, and chocolates. Gang, I've been using their products for a while now, and they've lowered my anxiety and given me incredibly restful sleep. How Did I Get Here is teamed up with True Hemp Science to bring you a very special offer that benefits all of us. Spend $100 or more at True Hemp Science, and they will include either the number 81 distillate, which is great for nighttime, or the number 23 distillate, which is great for daytime, with your order. And that is a $25 value. Just go to truehempscience.com/HDIGH. That's truehempscience.com/HDIGH and balance your body and mind with True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys all had a good weekend, whatever it is you did this weekend. Maybe you took in the Austin City Limits Music Festival weekend one. Did you do that? The weather was nice for it, I will say that. I did not do that this weekend. I did watch a little bit of it on Hulu. On Saturday, I watched a couple of the acts. I watched Adrian Quesada's set. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I wish there was a way I could have recorded it. All those great singers coming out and singing with him. If you were there and you saw it, it was unbelievable. He was on Colbert on Friday. As you guys know, if you listen to the show, you know that's my favorite record of the year. My car's still in the shop, as I said, but I managed to get out and do a bunch of stuff this weekend. Thursday night, I went to that Ed Cariff art opening at Modern Rocks Gallery. If you did not listen to episode from last Tuesday, I think it's episode 1211 with Ed Cariff, legendary rock photographer, had an amazing art show, shot everyone. You know, I'll name one photo that he took. You know the picture of Jimi Hendrix at Monterey where he's on his knees and his guitar's on fire and he's doing his fingers like voodoo? He took that photo. And fucking hundreds, thousands other ones. So anyway, go back and listen to that show. It was really good. Friday night, Rosie and I walked over to a pop-up market that happened at one of the condos down the street. So we went down there. It was fun. Met some people, talked to people. Rosie got scared by a dog booth that wanted to do Halloween photos with dogs, and she was not having it. She got scared. She wanted to run away. And then Saturday, we went to the farmer's market at Republic Square downtown. That was really fun. Yeah, just, on foot adventures. When you don't have a car, it gets pretty weird. And I'm actually doing this on Sunday, this intro. And tonight I'm doing that John Lennon tribute show at 310 Austin City Limits Live. Sorry you missed it. If you're listening to the show, you missed it. So yeah, that was my weekend. A weekend on foot, a weekend of doing stuff. I did notice that a lot of my friends that are sort of my age were like posting like photos, but they were definitely like the Hulu feed. Like I said, I had watched a couple of the acts on Hulu from ACL. I feel like a lot of people are doing that. I might be going on Sunday. That's my thing. I might be going on next Sunday. I have a friend that's coming into town. He was like, hey, let's do this. He's got a hookup situation. And so I might be going on Sunday when I come back from Houston. I got a busy week of stuff, and my birthday's on Friday, gang. Don't forget my birthday. Okay. My birthday's on Friday. Can I just say that I'm like 42? I think that's the last age that I was comfortable turning. That was a while back. That was a while back. Gang, I have a great show for you guys today. A great show. Legendary Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, drummer from Creedence Clearwater Revival, Doug Cosmo Clifford, is my guest on the show today. We have a fantastic conversation about the Creedence Clearwater Revival whole experience. the experience that he had with Creedence Clearwater Revival, from releasing 7 albums in 3 years, going from obscurity to literally the most popular band in the world in 3 years. You know, I mean, that's insane. 1 year after their first album came out, they were headlining Saturday at Woodstock. How insane is that? They put out 7 albums between 1968 and 1971. And we have a great conversation about all that. But what's going on with Doug right now is he's been reaching back into his vault, into the Cosmo vault, Cosmo's vault of tons of music. And he pulled out this record that he made in the late 70s called California Gold. And it just came out in September. Fantastic record. Fantastic record. He made it in the late 70s and features Bobby Whitlock from Derek and the Dominoes. Not only playing piano and B3, but he's the lead singer on the thing, and he sings his ass off. The record features bass from greats like Tom Miller and Donald Duck Dunn. Seriously. Insanity. Go to DougCosmoClifford.com for all of your Doug Cosmo Clifford needs. What a great conversation. What a really sweet dude. He ended up sending me a record. I told him how much I enjoyed his first solo record that came out in 1972, simply called Cosmo. Doug Clifford. Cosmo is the name of the record. You can find it on all the streaming services. It's fucking great. And he's just a lovely, lovely man. And, you know, everybody knows the stories about Creedence Clearwater Revival, all the lawsuits, all the ugliness, all the, you know, all the bad business stuff that led to bad personal stuff, even between brothers. But, Doug, you know, we didn't really talk a lot about that. We touched a little bit on it, but there's like behind the music. You can go there and see all that. I feel like Doug's at a place where he didn't really have a lot to do with all that controversial stuff and all that lawsuit shit. I feel like he was on the outside of that, and that he's just had to deal with that his whole career. And he just wants to celebrate what Creedence was able to do, you know? So he's also pulling out records from his vault and doing that stuff. It's very exciting. Also, gang, there's never been like a really great documentary about Creedence Clearwater Revival, and now there is on Netflix. When we talked on the show, it hadn't come out yet, but it came out back in September. It's called Travelin' Band. Creedence Clearwater Revival live at the Royal Albert Hall. It's available on Netflix. It's a great performances, really well shot, sounds great, and some really great interviews and stuff like that. Doug is just a lovely, lovely man, and he's putting out this music that he's been making for years. There's a record called Magic Window that he recorded in 1985, and he put that out during 2020. So just go look up DougCosmoClifford.com. DougCosmoClifford.com. What a great, great, great conversation. I want to thank him again for sending me that vinyl copy of Cosmo. He's just such a sweet and generous man. That's what I thought. He was generous with his time. He was nice to follow up afterwards. He called me, checked in. Just a really, really lovely man. So, founding member of Creedence Clearwater Revival and Creedence Clearwater Revisited. Really quickly, I bring up my friends Wayne Nagel and Ryan Krebs, who work with Creedence Clearwater Revisited, and Doug has nothing but sweet things to say about them. So without further ado, here's this legend of rock and roll, Doug Cosmo Clifford. Let's get down. It's an honor to get to talk to you, man.
Just another drummer.
Yeah, just another drummer, but you know, all you guys bring the magic to the, like no band would be itself. You know, I want to say real quick, this album, California Gold, that you did with Bobby Whitlock, which is out now, and people can go listen to it. Fantastic record.
Yeah, it's out.
Yes, it is. I was going to say, the drums sound phenomenal on it.
Oh, thank you.
Is that pre-80s recording? Is that pre-gated reverb?
That's 1978.
Oh yeah, great time.
Yeah, they don't make them like they used to.
No, sir. Who you guys produced that record, right? Or you produced that record?
Yeah, I produced it.
Okay. Where did you do that? In your studio?
Well, we rehearsed it in Cosmo's factory, and we recorded a little bit of it in Cosmo's factory, but then we used the church over in Marin County for a session. We used Fantasy Records recording studio, so we bounced around.
Yeah.
With it. And I wanted to try and have it sound as if it was one session. And
you definitely got that.
Yeah. You learn how to make records, you know.
Yeah.
The tricks of the trade.
You know, that's funny because I don't want to jump right into this, but I was looking at that Creedence Clearwater revival thing, and I had never done looked at the numbers and the math in my head that you guys did 7 records and essentially put out 7 records in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
Well, you know, that was what was handed down, and that was the blueprint, and you know, we stuck with it, and straight and sober. And that's the way to make music for us anyway. And we got high on the music, and we were able to have our wits about us to stay abreast of the hectic pace.
Yeah.
And we also toured behind those records too. So there's cutting the pie into smaller slices as far as time that we had to do all of it.
Dude, that's what I was thinking today. Like, I was listening to this record, and I was just kind of like reflecting, like walking around the lake. I live in Austin, by the way.
Okay.
Where are you?
I'm in Reno, Nevada.
Oh, cool.
Right now. But I'm in the pine forest. I have bears in my yard when it's garbage day. We had deer in our yard yesterday, so I'm up at 6,000 foot elevation.
Wow.
So on paper, it says I'm in Reno, Nevada, but I'm that's that way, and not anywhere near the environment that I live in. Then I have a winter home in Scottsdale, Arizona, because I don't like the snow. And so I spend 4 months there. So I've got a nice little setup of environments, if you will, to have a warm type of environment to do my thing in.
Yeah. I think we have some friends in common from your Creedence Clearwater Revisited days. Wayne Nagel is a guy I've known since I was a kid. Yeah, the best. And Ryan Krebs.
Yeah, Krebs wasn't there as long as Wayne was. Wayne is we couldn't have done it without Wayne. Let me just tell you that.
That's really
He's the best. Yeah. And I just talked to him a couple of days ago, checking on him. You've had some inclement weather back there.
Yeah. It's good. We're safe now, but this whole climate change thing is blowing my mind. But I don't want to get into that. I want to keep on talking about what I was thinking about was that in those 3 years, you were touring the whole time. Did you guys tour the whole world, or?
No, we toured the U.S. of A. And then in 1970, we went to Europe and did a tour of Europe, and that's where the record, the other record, the Creedence record, was recorded at Royal Albert Hall.
Oh, right.
The home of the Beatles, and that's coming out on the 19th, I believe, and it will be shown on Netflix. So check your Netflix calendar, and it's a really good documentary, and it's the only video that Creedence has, and I'm really proud of it. We get to play the whole show from Royal Albert Hall, and that was really cool because some of the Beatles were there, and we were there to dethrone them. That's no easy task, but they did most of the work. They were on their way out.
Yeah.
And we were on our way in. So we were number one in the world when we left that tour.
God, man. What was that? How did you, how old were you when that was going on?
I miss that.
How old were you when that was happening? Like, how old were you in 1968?
Yeah, I had my 24th birthday on that tour. So just turned 24.
How did you handle that? Like, as a person, like, did you mentally go off the rails or any kind of thing like that? Did you implode? Did you freak out in any way, or did you just go with it?
No, I just went with it. I think we all did. Work was, and that was a credit to us, really. No drugs or alcohol related to work. Work was straight and sober, and the drug was rock and roll music. And that's how we did it. We couldn't have done it otherwise, I'm sure of it, at the hectic pace and the discipline. And then I would take a little cassette player and put it on the floor of the rehearsal space. And then if there were songs that needed work or whatever, I guess they would all need work if I was taking the notes. Then I would take that home after work in the factory and take that and put it on a 1-track of my 4-track machine. And I would try different whatever I was working on, breaks for a song, tempos, whatever. I would work on those at home, and I had 3 tracks to work with. For example, Susie Q, that's a quarter note beat. The original was a rockabilly song. I never really liked it much. It didn't do much for me, but when I turned the beat into a quarter note beat,
right,
with the right hand instead of
right,
and then on the in betweens, I played eighth notes, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but eighth notes and quarter notes, and that set it up as a dance song in the nightclubs. And economic 101 in the bar business was, you get a band, you get them in there playing up-tempo songs, so the people are out there dancing, working up a sweat. And then when they do that, then they have to have beer to cool off.
That's right.
Then when the beer is sold, the guy makes a profit. That's the bar business economics. And so we used it on Susie Q, and it turned it into a 10-minute song, and which helped the material. When you were playing in the clubs, it was 5 sets a night.
Oh, geez.
6 nights a week.
Oh. Same place 6 nights a week? So you go there and set up for a whole week?
Yeah, that's what we did most of the time. Then there were times when we would just go out for weekend gigs, and we would drive to those. But yeah, we did it the old-fashioned way. There were no computers or anything like that, and you go out and you play 5 45-minute sets, and do it 6 nights a week, and you're gonna either die or get real good.
Well, yeah, I mean that is the truth. Like, you either end up like the Beatles proved that with their Hamburg thing, turned them into like a super group, and you can become a better singer. Your muscle can get stronger and stronger as a drummer as well. It's such a physical, endeavor.
Yeah.
I bet you were
Absolutely.
a strong dude back then, huh?
Well, I'll tell you what. You look at this
Albert Hall?
documentary that's
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see what I did to drive the band. I was the driver. I was the machine, and then John would play when he was singing. He was on mic, and then when he went to play as a solo or whatever, where he wasn't singing, he would turn his back to the audience and come over, and I was on the floor next to his amp, kind of like Banky, his Banky.
Yeah.
And he would play to me. That's how we did it the whole time we were together as a group, because that's how we did it when we were 13, when we started. We were an instrumental trio. Then Tom came in later as a vocalist and got us into the studio, and that's how how Creedence was born.
That's so amazing that you guys were together for, I mean, what seems like to the public 3 years, but you were together, 10 years before that, right? Or something like that.
10 years before that. Yeah. Started when we were 13, had our first hit when we were 23.
Wow. That's just amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, you went on to work with Stu. It was funny because when I was looking at the dates of everything, the Revisited band, you guys were together 25 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then all those years before that, I met him the first day of school in the 7th grade, and we were both buying rock and roll records, and that was our common ground. And then we became friends, and I ran into John in the music room, and he was playing piano with his back to me and playing an upright piano. And he was playing Little Richard and Fats Domino, all of which I had in my record collection. So I knew the songs inside out and backwards, not how to play them, but how to listen to them and enjoy that. And so when he finished, I walked up to him and never been shy, and I said, "Hey, you were playing original Fats, Little Richard, etc., etc." I said, "I have all those records." And he says, "Yes." And he said, "I said, you want to start a band?" And he said, "Well, actually, I play guitar." And I said, he says, "I'm looking for a piano player." And I said, "Well, I've got the guy. His name is Stu Cook. His dad's a rich lawyer, and he has a piano that's in tune. Nice big rumpus room where we can practice." Now, I hadn't asked Stu if he wanted to go. I certainly hadn't asked his parents if we could go down and beat up on this beautiful piano, but that's just me, it made sense to me. And so Stu came in as our piano player. So we were piano, guitar, and drums, and the bass was Stu's left hand on the piano.
Right.
And then as we were playing instrumental songs, so I found and I listened to the radio to learn how to play. A lot of the black stations around the Bay Area were the real deal, and I spent most of my time listening to that, and so I could play a break that made sense musically, because that's what I was listening to. The hits. The hits were hits because the way they were played and the way they were written. So that helped me out. And then when we started singing, then I backed off of that, because now I'm playing where the lead vocal would be. So, but I also learned and kept, if I'm going to play a break, that note or notes has to have value above the note before it and the note after it. So I kept that part going. I didn't throw a break in just because there was a place for it or wasn't a place for it. Right. That was the other thing. Less is best and all that.
You even got that. You got that even at that young age, because that's one of those things of the sign of a mature musician is to know when not to play.
Yeah, and that's if you listen to Creedence, we're very economical.
Oh yeah, very.
As far as number of notes and the relativity towards each other. You want to have something to announce the chorus. That's that's the money part of the song. I don't mean that in actual dollars and cents, unless you're making records. And we weren't making records. We were playing what was on the radio.
Yeah.
At that time.
Let me ask you a question, because there's so much wrapped up in the era of music that you are look at all the platinum records behind you. It's like a sea of platinum records. Your band came out at a time of underground, like there was a feeling of revolution among young people fighting against a war, against racism. A lot of stuff was happening in that time, a lot of turmoil. In '68, the year your band, came out to the world, we lost Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King, to assassinations. There were protests. You played Woodstock. Now, from like the late 70s on, anytime a helicopter is entering Vietnam in a movie, it's either you guys or the Doors.
The Fortunate Son.
Yeah, exactly. Or Riders on the Storm. It's like as soon as those helicopters are coming in, it's like you guys are the Doors. Like, so you represent this time and thinking about everything that we've been through over the last 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do those times compare to these times to you?
To these times?
Yeah.
Well, I was 25 years old. That's one thing. I'm 77. I find that we went into AM radio when our peers were playing 20-minute jams, most of the time noodling. We'd come out with a 2.5-minute single and blow the lights out. We chose that route because that's the route we took. And we're playing the same style of music as we did when we first started, staying true to the roots of rock and roll. And so we weren't going to go and do what everybody else was doing, because that wasn't what we do. We stayed true to ourselves and played singles. And we had a much bigger audience in the AM record. So if you want to get your message across about the war or anything, but in this case the war, get a hit single that's being listened to millions of people, not hundreds of people over here that are saying fuck the pig and all of that. Those people are already in in the revolution. We were hitting the masses, the general public, and with hit singles and a strong message. Credit to John Fogerty on that.
Yeah. What was it like playing Woodstock for you? Like, what was that day like?
It was chaotic. Just getting there was chaotic. We flew across the country we were doing an Andy Williams special, and they kept having problems. They had 2 unions working on that show. That wasn't a good idea, because unions basically fight each other, and they do things to make the other side look bad instead of doing the work.
Right.
They had problems, all of our equipment worked, none of theirs worked. Finally, it got to the point we kept changing our flights. He said, "You better get it this time, because we have a gig on the East Coast, and we do have to go this time." And of course, if you listen to the Sullivan's rock and roll Ed Sullivan's rock and roll acts and things like that. When you see us doing the Andy Williams show, sure enough, in the middle of one of the songs that we were doing, and this was going to be the last one, and there was a big blast of feedback, and it wasn't the guitar feedback; it was a electronical feedback by one of the unions getting even with the other one. So John rolled his eyes. We said, take it or leave it. That's all. That's the best we have, thanks to your shenanigans. So we have to go. So if you want to use it, that's up to you, which they did. So then we go into this environment that you can't drive a car, because everybody that came, and it was way more people than they expected.
Right.
Couldn't drive their cars. There were too many cars. So they just left their cars on the road and walked to Woodstock. And so, we had done a lot of, it was really wacky. And it was raining there, summer rain. So we were wondering how we're going to get our equipment in if we can't drive our truck up there. And all of a sudden, our crew is gone. I never saw them, but they managed somehow. I think they just beckoned the assistance of people to carry a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
They brought it in for us, and then you had the problem of rain. Microphones and rain, not good.
No.
And everything was late. People were in free now. The fences were down. I mean, they told us there's a 500,000 people there, and we just went, oh, we've seen 150,000, because that was the year of the pop festival.
Right.
We played a lot of those. So we had an idea what 400,000 or 500,000 people would look like. And we had a two-man helicopter, one passenger helicopter. That was the way to get you in and out. So two passengers, and I was the passenger. John sat in the middle. The driver of the helicopter sat next to him. I'm sitting with my half a cheek on John's seat. And it was the Dragonfly type helicopter with a little bubble top.
Yeah.
And the door was flapping up against the glass. So I'm holding onto the door so it won't flop and flip and break. And I have my right foot on the skid of the helicopter, just balancing on it. And then I had my left hand holding John's safety belt. And in we went, and it was a time when the sun was just going down, and you know how colors are amplified and brighter when the sun goes down. At that point, couldn't have been a better entrance. And as we're coming in, the chopper's flying low, and then he says, "Take a look," and he comes up above a rise, and there is this. I called it the patchwork quilt of humanity.
Wow,
that's what it looked like.
Yeah,
and John and I looked at each other and went, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, I bet, man.
They didn't lie.
No.
How's this going to work?
Yeah.
No fences, which meant there was 10 times more people than they thought or hoped for. So there was not any food. There wasn't potable water. There were toilets. And instead of freaking out and getting violent and fighting and whatnot, people played in the mud.
Yeah.
People shared what they had with what little they had brought with complete strangers.
Right.
There was, and this might sound corny, but it was truly peace and love. You could feel the positive energy. The hair on my arms stood. I could feel the hair. It's just tingling, wow. And I will say that if it would have been beer instead of weed that everybody was smoking, there would have been violence there.
Yeah.
So
let me ask, I've got a couple of questions, like just logistical questions. Being like not high and not like, fucked up on drugs, getting into that scene at Woodstock, like backstage, was everybody just super out of their head, or were there some people like had it together?
Yeah, there a lot of the bands were, and that's, we had to follow the dead, and they down to this day cringes. We came there to play and play as good a set as we could play.
Right.
Those guys couldn't even see.
Yeah.
Then they went on for 2 hours instead of one, and by we were the headliner.
Yeah.
Of it, and all the other bands were waiting on the sidelines for one of them, or at that time, as I say, we were ranked number 1 in the world and record sales and concert draw. So here we are, ready to go, ready to play, and we can't do it because the guys are going over, and then the rain would come, and so when we finally got on, it was 1 or 2 in the morning, Sunday or Monday, I don't remember which, but there we were, and we played our set and woke people up, and
yeah.
Then we had to get out because we had a show the next night in New Jersey, and so we got a farm boy who had snow tires on the back of his car because there was mud everywhere.
Yeah.
And the regular tires wouldn't work, so he had his thing down, and I think it was $100 bill, and we got in the car and we held it in front of him, and that was a lot of money back then.
That's a lot of money back then. Yeah.
But this will be yours if you can get us out of here. And he took us out over these muddy little paths and whatever, and got us out of there. And we made the gig the next night, which was 3,500, I think, people with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Oh,
so
cool.
we went from Woodstock to the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band and 3,500 people. But it was work. We did everything we could to get. It would have been easy to say, okay, our work's done. Let's get fucked up or whatever. But that's not how it worked. Work was.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but for those that are listening, your those 3 years for you guys, or whatever montage anyone's ever seen about a band when things start taking off and there's cameras flashing and they're getting on a plane and they're getting on a bus and they're getting on stage and they're going on TV. But like for 3 years straight, that's what you guys did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the work was work, and we did a lot of TV. We did Sullivan twice. That was the biggest show in the world, television-wise.
Yeah.
That's why the Beatles played Sullivan, and the Stones. Ed Sullivan was a very straight-laced guy, but he did a lot for rock and roll. He was a friend of rock and roll. He made he made rock and roll okay for people to have in their house. if they had kids or not, but if Ed says it's okay, it's okay. And then, they got very popular that way. That kind of television exposure. I think it was a 30 million viewer.
Yeah.
And so you play Sullivan, you've made it. That was the thing. We did it twice. So
yeah,
yes, we made it twice.
You guys were already a band when the Beatles were on there, but did that still kind of rock your world when they were on there? Did you guys go get different haircuts the next day or anything?
Yeah, we as a matter of fact, we did. It was no kidding. We were thrilled when we saw the Beatles, and we were at a point then when it had been like 5 years, almost 6 years, we'd been together with, and hadn't made it. And Stu and I were away at college, and so we weren't all in the same little borough, so we could make a phone call and have a practice going.
Right.
10 minutes. So it was a shaky time in terms of what was happening to the band. And when we saw the Beatles on Sullivan and how great they were, and that they had the same instrumentation that we had, and they were playing American rock and roll better than Americans were at that time.
Right.
And we said, well, if these guys from Liverpool, England can make it, we can make it. And it was a big shot in the arm for us, and it gave us real hope, because they went on big and got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I mean, and their thing also. I mean, it's always hard to believe their thing was only 10 years of putting out records, even less, 8 years of putting out records. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with you guys.
Well,
like, those 3 years, but Jesus, 7 records, like, huge, like life-changing music, like record after record. You know what I mean? For people, like, your music isn't just, it is literally like the fabric of American lives.
Yeah, it
heavy,
truly
man.
was, and still is.
It still is. Yeah.
And I the years go by, and as I say, I'm 77 years old. I've always just sort of, I've never been a rock star, or just that whole thing. It sounds like somebody else, because we didn't live that lifestyle, and the way we approached the music, as work, that was our destiny.
Yeah.
And now with this documentary coming out, telling us a good part of the story, they kept the positives because there's a lot of negatives attached to the band, and they did it right, and it was the legacy of music. That's the real thing. All that other stuff is bullshit, and but now I'm starting to look at it from a little different direction, where God, I got to be the drummer in this band that is world renowned and has left a mark.
Really?
On people's lives.
Yeah.
We made people's lives better. And people tell you that, and what a great gift that is.
Yeah.
Gift. And I'm kind of accepting now that, we were like the Beatles, not in the sense that we played their style of music or whatever, but we were the guys in this band that was number one in the world, that laid this trail of
correct.
Stay true to the genre of the music that they learned to play when they were 13 years old.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that more and more. I guess I'm getting closer to death. But to think, I never used to think that way. I better be careful what I wish for.
Well, no, there's also, I mean, you guys, yes, you guys were. There's also another aspect to it that is one thing. I'm a musician as well. I have been since I was a kid. I was born in 1968, so we have different sort of touchstones of things that happened. But my mom was into all of the music that was happening when you guys were happening, so I was always inundated with it. And one thing I can say that even from a very young age, I always knew when it was you guys. Now that having a voice like that, especially in the 60s when there were so many people trying to be the Beatles, where you have like Herman's Hermits. I can't tell the difference sometimes between Herman's Hermits and Paul Revere and the Raiders. But I always know from usually the first 3 bars of a fucking Creedence song that it's you guys.
Well, we stayed true to back in the early days of Fantasy. Max Weiss was the owner. He kept telling us, you have to have a gimmick. You have to have a gimmick. And we said, well, how about a hit record? How about a hit? And then he put us, then he said, we got our gimmick all right, the Gollywogs.
Yeah.
He named us the Gollywogs and put us in even worse uniforms. The worst. The night after, the day after and night after we play a gig back then, I had a very stiff neck because I played with my head down. Play a couple hours with your head down, you're going to have a stiff neck. And the Gollywogs gave me plenty of those.
I bet, man.
Horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, but what an amazing thing to achieve that you guys had such a truly unique musical. But still to this day, you just know that even the guitar, you don't even have to hear John's voice necessarily. You just have to hear the band playing and you're like, oh yeah, I know who that is, you know?
Here, look at this.
What's that?
I'm going to show you the Gollywogs.
Okay, good. I got to see what you guys were wearing.
See it?
Wait, with those things on your head?
Yeah.
That's
They're
great,
all
man.
wearing the same pants, same vest, same shirt, and the Cossack wigs.
Good Lord. That is hilarious.
That's what gave me a headache.
I could see that. I could totally see that. I want to, Doug, I had never known much about your album Cosmo until I started researching this, and I've been listening to this record for the last few days. I love that album. Like from the first song, it is kicking, man.
Which album is that?
Your first solo album, Cosmo. I fucking love that record, dude. I do.
Stu Cook, that's one of his favorite records. I think I could have done a better job, but
it was man. It's great.
No, thank you. I've got one that I did in the middle '80s, where I actually think it's a good record. I'll have to send you a copy
Magic
of
Window?
that. Magic Window, yeah.
Yeah, man. I've been listening to that too. That's great. You did that with the guy from Greg Kihn Band?
No, I
Okay.
did that. I did that with a guy named Chris Solberg from Santana and Journey, and then a guy Russell DeShield who was in a band, the Don Harrison Band. Stu and I were in that band as producers, and so just the three of us did that album. I spent a lot of times on the vocals on that. On the first one I didn't, and I'll tell you why. It was an experiment to see. There were no remote recording trucks in the Bay Area at that time. They had a couple in L.A., and so the Creedence is broken up, and Stu and I and Russ Gary, the engineer for Green River album started a production company, and we signed acts to it. And to get capital to work on these projects, we had a truck made, and we would lease it out to people, and that gave us money to operate it. It looked great on paper, but the problem was the guy that was building the truck took 3 times as long as he said it would take.
Oh.
And by the time it was done, there were like 3 trucks. So that meant we were dipping into our pockets, which was okay. And that's where the Whitlock thing came. Duck Dunn told me, I told him that I was looking to start a band and I need a singer. And he said, I got a guy for you. And he introduced me to Bobby, and I knew who he was, and that's how it got going. And then Duck left to join the Blues Brothers, and then things were just weren't going the way we had hoped in terms of getting a deal. So into Cosmo's vault goes the California Gold. And the California Gold is an album I listen to like I'm listening to other guys playing it. First of all, I haven't heard it in a long time.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. But second of all, it wasn't played like Creedence. I played a lot of different drum things, fills, grooves, experimenting with the guys that I was playing these songs with. Bobby and I wrote all the songs together, and the same with the great kin, Steve Wright. We in that project we wrote all the songs 50-50. I mean, that was where I got my songwriting chops. But we wanted to see if we could use the Cosmos factory and the rehearsal space for recording acts that we wanted to produce, Stu and I. And so I was still under contract with Fantasy, so I said, "Hey, I'll do an album, and they'll pay for it. A little revenge on the label." And that's it was never meant to be a record that I was going to put out. So I didn't spend much time on the vocals. I just got a bunch of guys that I wanted to play with. Duck Dunn. Stu played rhythm guitar. He always wanted to do that. Tower of Power horn section.
Oh, that's his way on there. Fuck yeah, dude. That's awesome.
So that's how that came together. I wasn't putting it together as a work of art. It was an experiment to see what kind of sound we could get out of a remote truck as our control room, and use our old rehearsal space as the studio.
Well, I love it. And maybe it is because you guys weren't trying to make a work of art. Sometimes that stuff just slips out and it's really good, And even those off the cuff vocals, maybe that's, I don't know. Something about that record really resonated with me. Like I really, just from the first song, I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is cool.
I really appreciate it.
I will say you were talking about experimenting with different stuff when you did California Gold. Your drumming on that record is a lot more expressive in the fills. There's more lyrical stuff you're saying as a drummer.
Right, and the reason for that was the guys that I was playing with. We didn't do the 2.5 minutes singles. We were doing 6-minute songs, so there was a lot of room to add something, a fill or a pattern on my bass drum. Play a pattern that was cozying up with the bass, and when you have Duck, that's an easy thing to do, and then also Bobby did a lot of things with the organ. And,
oh yeah,
and that allowed me to play things that otherwise wouldn't be playing, because it's a different lead instrument. And that's why I played not the Creedence beats wouldn't have worked on California Gold.
Yeah. Yeah, that and also once again I will say whoever fucking recorded those drums is a genius, because they sound amazing. I'm sure
No,
it
that's
has.
me.
Yeah, well, you're a genius, because you played them, you tuned them, and recorded them. They really do. They sound like drums.
That's what happens when you have a drummer as a producer.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, they sound like the real drums. So, what Sir Douglas Quintet album did you do? Did you produce?
Well, I did. I played on 3. I produced 2, and Midnight Sun was an album that we
nice.
cut for in Denmark, and we had a #1 single off that album in Scandinavia, because we had a song called "Meet Me in Stockholm, Baby." That's Doug Somm, classic Doug Somm, the most talented guy I've ever worked with, but the nuttiest.
Yeah, I knew him.
I loved that guy.
Yeah.
And so then I did a song, Groover's Paradise, which is
I love that
one
song.
of the best.
Yeah.
Thank you. That album is one of the best albums I've ever produced, and I had to really work hard to keep him focused on what we were doing, because he had a very short attention span.
Yeah.
But he had all this talent, and he, if I wasn't writing Hurt on him, it wouldn't have happened. But that's one of my favorite albums. And Stu's playing bass on it with me. I threw that in there because he was available, and we were partners in that production company.
Yeah.
And it was a fun record. And then another one is Daydreaming at Midnight. I produced that in '93.
Oh, cool.
And so I've played on 3 albums with Doug. Had a #1 single in Sweden.
Yeah.
With Doug. And I went out and toured a little bit with that one.
Is that song Crossroads on Groover's Paradise?
Yeah.
That's my favorite Doug Somm song.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. One of my favorites.
Yeah. I got to play that. I don't know if you know this guy, but there's a guy named Ian Moore that's from here. He's friends with Wayne and all those guys. But I toured playing in his band like 15 years ago or something, and that was one of the encore songs that we did every night. It was one of my favorite songs to play.
Yeah, it definitely, it's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, yeah. So, man, does Bobby Whitlock live here in Austin? Didn't he, or did he, or?
He did for a while, and he lives now in a little teeny podunk town in Texas somewhere.
Okay.
I could find it.
Oh no, that's all right. I just remember a few years ago he was playing Saxon Pub and stuff here, and I think I saw him a couple times. And man, he is a hell of a singer on this record, man. He's got.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll tell you why. Well, I'll tell you one of the reasons why. I fronted the whole project, so I had a house that was a rental house, so I put him in there and took really good care of him. And but he was smoking cigarettes, and I said, "Man, you gotta quit smoking cigarettes. It's not the best thing you can do to your voice. In fact, I hear it,
Yeah.
And so I got him to quit smoking cigarettes, and then I said, now that you've quit smoking cigarettes, now you can run with me now, because I ran every day, and then I also lifted weights, and I didn't force the weights on him. It was more than I can ask. I can get the guy to quit smoking cigarettes and to run every day.
Boy.
I'm going to have a good singing cowboy.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And you can hear it. And,
Oh, yeah.
and when when you have that at your command, and and it's new to you, and you've been a professional singer for a long time, it's really special. So it really got him into the songs, and they were our songs too. So that also helps as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good little record there in my vault.
Yeah. Out of Cosmo's vault. California Gold is available now, featuring Bobby Whitlock from Derek and the Dominoes. You can go to DougCosmoClifford.com to find out all the things, but also just go to the streaming services. Before we go, let me ask you, do you use these streaming services? Like, do you listen to music on Spotify or Apple Music? How do you listen to music now?
Not too much. Now that we've got a record that's going to be streamed, I'll be doing more listening that way. But most of the time, when I'm listening, I'm playing along with CDs.
Right.
I practice. I try to get drumming in. I have Parkinson's, so it's one of the things that's kind of taking me off the touring bus. But I can still play, but it's not the way I'd like it to be.
I understand that.
But at the same time, I wouldn't not do it and just say, "Oh, I have Parkinson's, so I can't do it."
Right.
I'll get it done.
You know what? Yeah, that's inspiring to hear. I have an aunt that has Parkinson's, and she was diagnosed like 4, maybe 5 years ago, I think. But yeah, she does a lot to try and stay on the good side of it.
Yeah, I don't have my hands don't shake. Right now, there are times when they do. But what I find bothers me the most is my balance.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
always had great balance, and man, it's. I've got to really watch my steps so I don't take a dive.
Yeah.
And that bothers me in the sense that I could hurt myself.
Yeah.
And I have to really watch out for that. But I do. That's what I do. I'm not complaining because how many people have had the life that I've had.
Yeah.
My dream came true on the rock and roll side, and then it came true again with Stewie and I 25 years.
Yeah.
That's another career, and I've been married to my wife for 54 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and together 60. We were high school sweethearts. So I have So I have Parkinson's. So what?
It's a good way to look at it. That is a good way to look at it. Well, man, this record's great. Thank you for digging in your vault and pulling out more stuff. It is you're getting into your solo stuff between California Gold and Magic Window and Cosmo. I am just blown away by your level of creativity. You are way more than just the drummer of one of the greatest bands in American history, and even the world, but you are also just a master creator, and I'm really blown away and really honored that I got to talk to you.
Oh well, like I say, the pleasure is mine. How neat it is to, and this, it's hard to make a living in the music business, yep. And no matter what side of it you're on or what you're doing in it. It's a tough one, and it's also one that millions of people want. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? You especially you love music and So I've been very, very fortunate in life and doing things, creating. I mean. Yeah, I don't know what I would do if I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
To me, yeah. I don't know what I would do.
That's the
but,
blessing and the curse we all have.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, man, I'm honored to have gotten to talk to you. People can find you at DougCosmoClifford.com. Check out California Gold and all the music. And I look forward to whatever else you pull out of that vault.
Well, there's more in there.
Well, good, man.
But I can only do one at a time. I've got to. Here's the thing, and I tell people, the guy says, I have a dream, and I said, oh, what is it? Well, I want to be a rock star. Okay, do you play an instrument? No, but oh, okay. You. There's a start for you. But dreams are great, but they're meaningless if there's no passion driving it. They're meaningless if you don't do everything you can to make it happen. That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to promote this to ultimately get airplay, and then you keep hitting radio and streams and all the things that are out there now at your disposal to get airplay, and that's how music is made to be heard.
Yep.
And I've got this record that needs to be heard because it's the kind of rock and roll that is very uplifting.
Yeah.
And right now, man, we that's what we need in the world.
That's right.
And this is a pedigree bunch of guys. I'm fortunate enough to have to work with on it, and that I was able to work with on it from all sides, from writing to production and everything. And so it's it means a lot. You said it. I'm not. Nobody knows this, but you and me. But I'm more than just a drummer in the room.
Yeah, exactly right.
And
most drummers are. Most drummers are more than just more than what people see from the outside of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's. You have to do everything you can to make that dream come true. And this is another dream, and I believe in dreams, but I know this about dreams. Dreams aren't going to manifest themselves in your dreams. Well, if you're sitting on the couch thinking about playing an instrument.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, man. Well, again, thank you so much. When does this Live at Albert Hall thing come out?
It's coming out on the 16th
of September.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well, man, I will look out for that. And thank you so much again for doing the show. Real pleasure getting to talk to you. And
it's a great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks again for all the music, Doug.
Pleasure's mine.
Take care, buddy.
Peace and love.
You too, man. Gang, that was Doug Cosmo Clifford. Check out that record, California Gold. Doug Cosmo Clifford featuring Bobby Whitlock. Fantastic record. You're hearing the song Get Down Fever. That's the one that you heard right there. You'll hear the rest of it in just a minute. Go to DougCosmoClifford.com. I want to thank him for sending me that 1972 record, Cosmo. What a sweet man. Sweet, lovely legend. Legends of rock. Really an honor to have him on the show. I want to thank my friend Wendy for setting that up. She's a really lovely lady. Set me up with a lot of great combos this year, and I'm sure we'll be doing more stuff in the future. Go to DougCosmoClifford.com for all of your Doug Cosmo Clifford needs. And gang, don't forget, when you're out there, looking up DougCosmoClifford.com, don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is you find podcasts, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Cast, TuneIn, Overcast. They're doing 3 shows this week. 3 shows. Oh, and Wednesday, big show. Go More Less Movies. Sheila playing at ACL Weekend 2. They'll be on the show on Wednesday talking all about that and all about their music and their journeys as musicians. And Wes Denzel, a rapper, from right here in Austin, Texas. Will be on the show Friday. Okay, 3 shows this week. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you, Doug, for doing the show. Have a great week. Enjoy yourself if you're visiting from anywhere else outside of Austin. Let's get down.
Set you free. Get down, fever's got me under its spell. Like voodoo and magic, it's got a backbeat straight from hell. I need a witness to make sure I stay free. Get down, fever, it's got a spell on me. So won't you just turn up that guitar and sing me a song? Rock me with fever and roll all night long. Maybe it's magic, maybe it's not, but get down, fever's the fever I got. Lord, Lord, Lord. Get down, fever. Get down, fever. I've been tossing and turning